dream. We did not share that dream.
The dream of Lamar Jackson should have been shared by everybody. Because you don't have anybody else.
No, right now you don't have anybody else.
No, and the great Rick Venturi still likes Will Levis.
He does.
But also said scouts have told us he is stiffer than a wedding PP. And that is not good. I mean, it's good at a wedding, but it's not good for your quarterback. I don't want stiff. You got to be able to dance. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to do some things.
I told Julie that, what Rick said, and she said, draft him. And then Rick said, so I texted it to Rick, and he said, well, Julie and I are the only people who like Levis, but for wildly different reasons.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I don't like Levis.
Well, you got to have
Levis,
somebody.
You're like, eh.
The dream is dead, just to clarify, because Odell Beckham signed with the Ravens, and apparently Odell Beckham was recruited by Lamar Jackson. Now, money talks and BS walks, but it looks like my dream of Lamar coming here has gone by the wayside, and I'm not happy about it.
Well, you should be, because you were going to have to give up draft equity, and you were going to have to give up cap space.
You guys,
that would cost
equity.
Well, that's a first rounder next year. That's going to be a starter if you can trust Ballard with it, and then you give up $40 million a year. That's 2 elite level starters. I mean, that's
at
3
what positions?
really
You're
good
the
starters.
one always talking about the bottom of your roster. I want to make the top of the roster great.
I'm with you.
And my bottom line is I don't trust Ballard. What has Ballard done to make us trust anything he's done? What has he done?
His first round picks to this point, Malik Hooker, Quentin Nelson, Kwity Paye. That's it. Those are the 3 first rounders he's had.
Malik Hooker gone. Quentin Nelson, I would say, I guess, is a great pick for his position. I don't know.
How hard is it to pick the best guard in the draft with a 6 overall pick?
That's what I'm saying.
And then Kwity Paye. We still don't know.
Finally, somebody, not named you or me, I think it was Peter King, came out in an article and said the Colts, and again, we've only been saying this, I've been saying this for years, built this inside out. It's like building a house in the middle of the desert. I don't know what that means, but that's what they said. That's what they said. And so I'm sitting there going, well, I've been telling you it's a house of freaking sand where we worry about, I don't know, crying about AR-15s or whatever, that kneeling and holding hands and Ballard telling us white people are bad and all the crap. I mean, win football games. I don't need, and I will say this openly, I don't need my morality from athletes, coaches, general managers, or politicians.
And you've been there on the inside, and you know what level of morality you're dealing with from that ilk.
That ilk. Look, bottom line, win football games, because the NFL, more than any other league, is about winning freaking football games. And if you don't have a quarterback, which, oh, by the way, the Colts don't, unless you think Gardner Minshew, this is a big 16 days leading up.
Yeah, it really is.
Huge.
Yeah, they got to get it right somehow or another. And you know what's fascinating to me about the whole process with Chris Ballard and with the Colts is I have no inkling which way they could go. They could trade back and take Jalen Carter. They could do the right thing and take Anthony Richardson. They could do the entire wrong thing and take Will Levis. They could trade back and wind up with Hendon Hooker. Like, anything is possible because we have no idea. Nothing's impossible with Chris Ballard. That's not a good thing.
No, I'm starting to think that move back, take Hooker and take Jalen Carter. But again, I go to this, we don't know. And if you like Levis, screw trading back. If you like, the more I look at Richardson, the more I'm like, why would you draft him? He's going to play the same way as Venturi told me, and it's a great point. Same way on Sunday that he played on Saturday. What is that? Athletic against a more athletic league, and inconsistent and god-awful in terms of accuracy. That's it. That's what he was on Saturday.
But you could get to a level. The guy's started 13 games.
Yeah.
If you've got Steichen's going to put him in a position to maybe learn and develop. He's a developmental guy. He started 1 year. He's not
we trust coaches around here like no other.
Yeah, I know.
We do.
I know.
Steichen's going to do this. Reich's the whisperer. How many quarterbacks has Reich? Mike Woodson develops. Mike Woodson hadn't developed one player at Indiana. Now we got a guy coming in that, his upside. And developed anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, say, okay, Jackson Davis had a big year. Did he develop anything? No. He went to his right shoulder when he was a freshman. Got stronger. We really like our coaches around here as developmental guys.
Until we're proven that we're wrong.
Right.
But we will glom onto that with the new guys.
Yeah.
Oh, Chuck Pagano.
Oh, my God.
He said, this guy, look what he did with the Ravens. Yeah. And then Reich,
Reich is a whisperer. See
And
what he did with Foles?
We kept saying it.
I
with
did.
new quarterbacks.
I did not.
Over and over again. Well, it worked with Rivers, so why wouldn't it work with Matt Ryan? And I bought the bill of goods from Reich, despite the fact that I knew he was full of crap.
He should have been better.
Ryan?
Right. He
Yeah.
should have been. He when you look at pedigree, and I think he's a good guy. I think Pagano's full of crap, and I think Pagano was chicken blank. And if you talk to real people that were there, they're going to tell you he let the OGs control him. He was more worried about keeping happy. And you saw it in Chicago when he went there for the Bears. The Bears got rid of him in 2 seconds as a defensive
And
coordinator.
I told all the Bears fans,
I did too.
You're not going to be happy with this one.
I go in on Waddle and Sylvie, and they're like, well, Pagano. I go, he's terrible. He's awful. Yeah. People that I know that actually know football, not that are his boys. Robert Mathis is his boy. Okay, Pat McAfee. Okay, fine. You like the guy, you protect the guy, all that kind of happy horse bleep. I totally get that. But dudes that really knew Pagano was full of crap. So this new guy comes in, and again, he's like Reich. He's got all the measurables, if you want to talk about a coach, doesn't he?
Yep.
So I guess your side is better than my side. My side is, I've seen this story before, they all suck. Your side is, hey, look, let's give him a chance because of what his background, and that's what you should do.
My side is this.
What's your side?
The offseason is long. And if you're going to be a pessimist, it's really long. So why not see the good?
Yeah.
And why not invest a little hope during the offseason? Because the regular season, it's 4-13. And that's going to be miserable. I don't need to make myself miserable in April.
Right. Well, it doesn't make me miserable. It just makes me have an open discussion. I don't think misery plays.
I would be miserable. I'd be like,
I'm not me. I'm going to Vegas this weekend. I'll talk to you about it right now. Then about 10 minutes after the show, I'm going to Old Oakland, hit some balls, get ready, maybe have a beer. No, there's no misery. But I do want to ask. So, all right, Odell Beckham gone.
Yeah.
That moving down and getting a couple pieces if you're not in love with a quarterback, and one of those pieces, wide receiver, maybe Jalen Carter, I don't know. But then you read that Hendon Hooker is moving up, and people are starting to like him.
Yeah.
That's a quandary.
He looked really, really good. He throws a great ball. He moves really well, but he tore his ACL. I don't care that he's 25.
I don't either.
That doesn't bother me.
Why doesn't it bother you?
Because 10 years he's going to be 35 and he's still going to be great.
Right.
And when you were 35,
he was fine.
You felt good. I felt good at 35.
Yes.
I could do everything at 35 I did at 25. I wasn't a professional athlete.
Right. But to this point, to your point, it used to be 35 was old.
Right.
Now 35 is, I think you can name, maybe not on one hand, probably 2-3 hands, the number of quarterbacks at 35 or right around 35.
Well, you've got training, you've got nutrition, you've got knowledge now that you didn't have 40 years ago.
Do you think being 25 actually helps because you don't have that childishness about you coming into money? You know what I mean?
I've never looked at a year that I've lived as a year where I took a step back. I know that's coming eventually, but from a maturity standpoint, now, granted, I started at a very low level of maturity, but year after year, I'm better as a human being now than I was at 25, certainly.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because when I talk on my show in the morning, people, he's 25. I get it in the NBA, and I don't even know why I get it in the NBA. The only reason you go early to the NBA as a kid isn't to play in the league, it's to get your second contract.
Right.
But that's not necessarily obvious. It could happen with Hendon Hooker, but that's not where he's at in his career.
That just hurts him financially.
That's it.
We give a shit about that less.
Right. And you got a guy that comes in, he's mature. He's not a child coming in trying to make adults in the locker room appreciate him. I would think he has a different level of maturity than coming in as a 21-year-old.
I would like this. A 21-year-old, you can bully into picking up the check. 25-year-old is going to be like, no, bullshit. We're splitting this. Or Nelson, you're getting the jack guaranteed. You pick up the check.
Yeah.
I like that in a 25-year-old.
You know what else I would like? Hey, look, let me tell you something. You guys last year stunk. You're going to kiss my ass a little bit here because I got a chance to make you clowns who were 4-13 without me better.
Right.
So not only are you not cellophaning my car like they did to Matherin, you're picking up the checks, you're babysitting my kids, and if I ask, you're going to wipe my ass.
You know, they had at Cathedral, I don't know whether this was a tradition, but the year before it happened, they would take a freshman in and shave the kid's head before the first varsity game. I was like, Ryan, they try to shave your head, somebody better come out bleeding or it's your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not putting up with any of that crap. You don't, if you get hazed, it's because you allow it.
Yeah.
And 25-year-olds are not going to allow that kind of crap.
I agree. So, you know, Richardson started 13 games, as you said. So what's the time frame where you go, all right, there's no more excuses? See, I think with Hooker, even though he's hurt, that is an excuse. I think with Hooker, they're really you better be ready to go as a 25-year-old experienced quarterback, unless physically your knee doesn't allow it. But with Hooker, and same with Levis, if Levis doesn't get any more, you don't get hey, you're the 4th pick in the draft. We're gonna wait on you for a couple of years. You don't get that. That's what Urban said on my morning show. He goes, look, the 4th pick in the draft. That's a difference maker. That has to be. So you got a built-in excuse with Richardson, I suppose.
Right.
But the others, I don't think you do. I think they got to be good to go.
But and the reason I would prefer Richardson is he's the only guy among those guys who I think could at some point ascend into that top 5 in the AFC. And that's where you got to be, if not top 3. I mean, you got Mahomes. You got Burrow, you got Allen, Herbert, you got all these, and not so much Herbert, really. I mean, people keep wanting to talk about Herbert. Yeah, I don't get it. But you've got to have a guy who nests nicely and comfortably into that group. And I don't think Hendon Hooker's it necessarily, and I know Levis isn't.
That's the thing. Levis, I had talked to 2 scouts, and they both said the same thing in different ways. There are no physical reasons that Will Levis isn't a star NFL quarterback.
You're right.
Which is, in my opinion, the biggest diss you can give an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, well, then what is it? Well, it's either you don't study enough, or you're not dedicated enough, or you're not smart enough and have instinct enough, right?
Some guys just don't have the behavior, and I don't know whether this is true about him or not, that like foretells success.
Yeah.
They don't want to be successes. They don't believe that somehow there's a thing where it's like, that's too close to the sun. I can't go there. And like, here's what he did, and this bothers me from his pro day, is he's working out, and they keep showing this highlight, but he kind of flips a ball to a guy moving down sort of the right sideline, flips it and hits the guy, and he kind of goes like this. And he sort of flexes and runs back in a pro day. And I was like, I don't care much for that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't.
More like, damn right I did.
Right.
Not like, hey, did you see
who
that?
I am.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. Does it bother you, the pictures he takes of himself in the bathroom being jacked? That bothers me a little.
I think it's peculiar.
It bothered me that all I saw, I don't know whether you do this or not. I think I said this on one of our shows. I don't know, but you're inside the practice facility. And I see him spitting on it. And I'm like, does that bother me? I couldn't decide.
Yeah.
I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure there are more important issues. But all these issues add up.
Yeah.
I saw draft day. They didn't come to the quarterback for Wisconsin's birthday party.
Yeah.
Shit adds up.
It means something.
I know.
Would they go to Levis's birthday party?
I think Levis is very punchable. I think Levis is very Levis oriented. I think Levis is not a bringer together or guy like Joe Burrow or someone like that is. Or Mahomes or Brady was in different ways, or Manning in his own way was. I think Levis is 1,000% about Levis, just from what I've seen.
I like the way, like they always talk about Steve Young when he was at Brigham Young, working and working and working. He's like 5th on the depth chart. He just kept working. Levis went wheels up after 2 years at Penn State. Mm-hmm. That bothers me some. And it's not like any one of these things would be a huge bother, but all of these things combined really make me question whether that's a guy I would want to invest a 4th overall pick in.
Right, the 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if you're talking about 25, but you're talking about the 4th overall freaking pick in the draft.
And Kuiper loves him. That's a problem. You know.
Look, one guy loves him, another guy doesn't love him. The bottom line is this: if Chris Ballard is going to stay there, he's going to have to love somebody.
Yeah.
And Ballard doesn't, in my opinion, maybe not anybody else's, but in my opinion, Ballard loves what's safe and gets him another contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's Richardson.
He does not like losing.
He loses. He's a surviving guy, though.
I mean, he doesn't like investing and having that in a hand and having that hand. He doesn't like a dealer beating him with a 6 shown. You know, you mentioned Vegas. He's got to maximize the odds in his favor, which means trading down, which means taking the safe pick. And you know that he's a safety first guy because he keeps bringing up that damn Buckner trade like it was the biggest risk anybody's ever taken in the history of the National Football League. That's a problem.
There's always a reason people get rid of players and keep others.
Uh-huh.
And Buckner was gone, and another guy was kept. Ngakoue was gone. And I'm telling you, I go back to this, and I said it on my show, and I said it to Ballard, and he was kind of pissed that I said it. But when Buckner had a chance to lead in that Hard Knocks, and he said that, Buck, you're going to play, right? The defensive line coach, Baker. Buck, you're going to play. And he sat there very, very stoically eating his food, saying, well, I'll do what my body tells me. Like, if I'm sitting there and I'm following Buckner, I'm like, hey, punk, like, you're our leader in this, what do they call it, the room. You're in the room. I'll do what my body tells me. That's horse shit. Yeah. And I lost respect for him, and everybody tells me how great he is. And, oh, he plays through pain. My ass. He had a chance to lead. A chance as a veteran to lead. And my body tells me. Shut the f***.
And with a camera there.
With a camera on it that you know is on.
Like, maybe I'll be there, Coach.
Right.
I'm in. And then the camera leaves, and you're like, Coach, I don't think I can go. You know, it's not knowing your environment.
No,
well,
and I lost total respect. And nobody seems to understand it. Like, oh, no, we don't worry about Buck. I would.
That's why you don't invite Hard Knocks
ever
in your place for any reason at any time. But sure as hell, not during the middle of a season. That was crazy.
Oh,
that's where Jimmy should have allowed Ballard to hit the brakes, but he didn't. Like Ballard on your show said he really didn't want that, so that means that Irsay did.
You can't want it.
No,
you cannot. If you maybe if you're the PR guy, maybe if you're the Matt Conti.
Yeah,
I don't even think Matt would want it. Irsay probably. It should enhance our franchise. Well, shut up. I think this. I think what Jimmy Irsay, and I've been told this, hell, Ryan Grigson said it on our show one time. He goes, look, Jimmy Irsay used to be all about winning. Jimmy Irsay, we all had a thing. Nothing gets in the way of winning. A Jimmy Irsay quote. I think Jimmy Irsay's really gone south on that. I think that the riots a few years ago, the social justice, I think his daughters get, I think it's not just one thing. I just think there's a lot of things that Jimmy has allowed to interfere with winning. When at time, at least Polian had the sign up on his wall, Grigson had the sign up on his wall. Nothing interferes with winning. Same thing as just win, baby, from Al Davis. Right. It's the same thing. It's just stated differently.
You've got to have a vision that's a long-range vision. Yeah, and you can't sell out today to win. You've got to. Every decision has to be made based upon winning now, then. And
just based on winning.
Years
and Hard Knocks doesn't put you in a position to win.
It does not.
There's nothing that Hard Knocks is going to do where you look around and you go, all right, this is going to give us an advantage. The only thing you see in that is it's going to give us a disadvantage by providing a distraction.
What team has ever bounced out of Hard Knocks into the light? You know,
that's a good
Raiders?
question.
No. Look at that
Detroit.
schlub.
I guess Detroit came
Several times. Browns. Dolphins. Every time I've watched that show, there's a moment. And like with the Browns, you had Hugh Jackson and Dorsey was the GM. And Dorsey brought everybody together in the middle of his office for a group hug. I turned to Julie and I said, Hugh Jackson's going to get fired. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. You don't bring, a general manager doesn't hug people because he loves them. He loves people, or he hugs people because he's trying to talk himself into loving people that he doesn't love, and that means goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like I'm hugging you, but I got a knife.
I felt so bad. I was like, oh, he doesn't know. I don't think, but he's getting fired.
That's so funny because most people look at it the other way. Most people look at it, well, isn't this so close? Isn't this so close-knit? No, in sports, you go into sports, unless you are an entitled dumbass, you go into sports knowing the expectation is one thing, win. And if we don't win at a certain level, depending on where you're at, we are all vulnerable to getting fired, period. There is no ifs, no ands, and no buts. And that's why I say Chris Ballard is an unbelievable survivor, because right now, your 7th quarterback, your 5th head coach, and I'll walk it through you if you would like. You got Pagano first, McDaniels was hired, then you had Reich, and then you had Saturday, and now you got this guy. That's 5 people. 7th freaking quarterback, no division titles, losing record. It's the greatest thing ever for that guy and his family.
And he's very, very strategic in this way, and I kind of admire it in a way. He'll say, this is on me.
Yeah.
This is on me.
Yeah.
And then he lists all the things that went wrong that were out of his control.
Right.
You know,
It's
he
genius.
contradicts himself, but it looks like he's taking responsibility, and everybody just laps it up. No.
I did that once, one of my first practice. Oh, my bad. Night stop practice. No shit, it's your, whose bad would it be? You're the guy that threw the ball into the bleachers, so you think saying my bad, it just makes it all better? Okay, Dan, you're bad. So now it's all better and we still have the ball. No, you turned it over. Get your, I'm like, hey, no more my bad.
No,
I thought.
None of this. Like, that's on me.
Yeah.
The guy drops the ball.
My bad.
Oh, that's
my
on
bad.
Yeah, really?
That's the Indiana way right there.
Yeah.
My bad. Oh, okay. Well, shit. I mean, if you say it's you bad, well, damn, then you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. But that's exactly right. Ballard doesn't do anything without a bit of a purpose.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're right. The word strategic is really smart in there, because he does not go to a my bad press conference without knowing exactly how it isn't my bad and how I'm going to dump on him, them. But you're never going to know it unless you really pay attention to it.
Right. Smart guy that way.
Very smart guy.
And to be admired in a sense. It's not going to help you win, but it's kind of like, oh, all right, this might be one that I like store away for a rainy day. You know, this is a good lesson. If I were to keep a job, but I know I'm not deserving of it, this is the kind of behavior to exhibit. I think it's like the Kelly School of Business should have a Chris Ballard Day.
Yes.
Where they talk about how to keep your job. They don't do that in business school, and it's really, really important. And he does it well.
Boy, that would be awesome. Our little guy Zachy teaches a school or class at IU, and he had Ballard speak. And Kiefer should have had Ballard. What's he going to speak about? Building a team? Was it drafting? I mean, he should have had him spoke on how to keep your job in the direst of circumstances.
Wouldn't that have been funny if you didn't tell him? Like, we've got Chris Ballard here. He's going to tell us how to keep a gig. Chris?
Well, you say it's all on you, but you really don't mean it, and you put it on Kent. That is so freaking true. It's so. Well, Indiana got him a new player. Is he just a guy? Are you excited like the rest of Indiana Nation?
When was the last time, you would know better than me, the name that kept popping into my head was Richard Mandeville. When was the last time Indiana had a 7-footer that lived up to expectations since Uwe?
Well, I don't even know if Uwe did going into
the expectations were so low.
They weren't that high on Uwe. Well, that's a great question. And I would also argue, when's the last time Indiana improved a guy? Like
right.
Race Thompson did not improve one iota. In fact, Race Thompson, I didn't realize this until I talked to two people that were very close to it. Big time gag at the end of games. And then I started watching it and I'm like, man, that dude doesn't want any part. And then if he gets a part, he shoots air balls for free throw. He was great against MAC team, which means he's a good MAC player. I don't know. I guess you got to get somebody on your team. And by all accounts, this guy's rated pretty high and has a lot of athletic ability and upside and blah, 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 blah. I'll be surprised. It'll be interesting because I thought the Renault kid for Indiana is pretty good. I thought Jordan Sparks or Peyton Sparks. He's pretty good. And we'll see where this guy fits in. But the truth of the matter is, he ain't better than what they had. And if the idea is to upgrade, I just can't get that fired up about it until...
Hard to upgrade over Trace Jackson Davis.
I agree.
That's
I agree.
tough.
Yeah, I agree. And you got to upgrade in other areas. You got to find athletic wings. Woodson talks about he wants to play faster with guards and all that kind of stuff. So you got to find guys to play faster with guards and all that kind of stuff. But one thing about Indiana, man, and this is what I love about it, always have, you get a recruit, it's better number 6, baby.
Yeah.
Look at this, JJD, JHS, Jawan Morgan. Come on, Doc. What about him? Like, what about him? JTD was as good as a freshman, skill-wise, as he was as a senior. Who's the other guy? I don't know all these. JHS, what did he improve? Had a good game against Purdue. Terrific.
Where would he have been if Xavier Johnson didn't get hurt? We wouldn't have seen him with the ball nearly as much. He'd be back this coming year.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
And we don't know if we're going to see Xavier Johnson next year. If the medical redshirt gets approved.
Are we hoping? We are?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do we want Xavier Johnson? Xavier Johnson has been a part of a lot of losing in college basketball.
Yeah, and he's made some very questionable decisions.
He's got more arrests than he has championships.
And I still don't know, maybe you know, who the ringleader up in Chicago was when all hell broke loose and guys got suspended for a really important Northwestern game.
Yeah. Now, maybe that's what's going to be interesting, and I go back to this. One of the things that I admire about Trace Jackson Davis is before the season, he said, look, we're not smoking weed. He addressed it. We're not smoking weed. We're going to be blah, 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 blah. And I admire that because he not only said that, but he played to that.
Yeah.
You know, Indiana players for the last however many years have always talked. Like, Jesus, can Indiana players talk and talk and talk and go get a Miller and Jesus. And Jackson Davis talked and then he backed it up. Yeah. And I admire that.
And we'll see if that's become a part of the culture or whether that just leaves town with him. That's a great point because now the way it was supposed to have been done back in the day, the next group, the next guys, the senior guys, which would include Xavier Johnson, are expected to lead. I don't know who else is there that's a senior. I guess Leal's got to be a senior at some point. Galloway's got to be a senior at some point, but maybe they have another year or two left. I don't know, but they're got to be expected to do the same thing. And here's the thing: this I liked, but given your the way you talk about Indiana talking, this kind of feeds into that. Is Gabe Cupps talking about Indiana? I can't remember the context. Said, hey, if he's about winning, I'm about him. I'm all about winning. That's talking. Then we'll see. Then Gabe Cupps is a terrific player from what I hear. Now, if you're really about winning, get off your Instagram where you're a little hero and get off your and go be about winning. Yeah. Now, I know the world is different. I mean, those two girls, Cavender girls, they're not going back to Miami because they want to take off their clothes, put on their bikinis, and go be WWE. I don't know. Is that really what they're doing? Yeah, that's what they do. Yes. WWE? They're involved with the WWE, so they announced today that they're not going back to Miami. So, season's been over. They've already taken off their clothes, put on their little bikinis, done all their little photo shoots. And, all right, look, if Gabe Cupps can do both, then God bless him. I'm all for it. But you got to win first. Period.
And those girls won, so hey, they can do whatever they want, in my opinion.
Can you think of an example of somebody who talked and then backed it up instead of backed it up and then talked? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good
okay.
question. Well, that's a
I
really
can't,
good question.
but it always drives me nuts when people talk before the fact, before the accomplishment. So I would remember that, but I wouldn't remember,
We had a kid who never played a game in Indiana. He was the worst player ever recruited to Indiana. His name was Robbie Foster.
Yeah.
Rob Foster, I told Coach Knight, he's terrible. Like, he had me go out and watch him in a pickup game at Fairfax High School, and the coach, Harvey Catani, taught Coach. I go, Coach, he's terrible. No, I watched him run a 400. He beat everybody on his team. And I go, Coach, I don't care. I watched him play. He's terrible. So this kid comes on his visit, and he sits there, and he's terrible. He sits in front of Coach Knight like I'm looking at the camera, and he goes, Coach, I'll tell you what, man, I'm committing, and I guarantee we win 2 national championships. And I'm like, oh. He never played in the game. He was such a blank show that he wrote a note. He wrote a note to Tim Garl to miss our morning workouts from his doctor. And Garl's like, what are you talking about? Robbie Foster wrote a note. So his dad came in complaining, and I just went off on his dad, and to the point where Knight told me to slow down.
Really?
Yeah. He
when
said,
you get told to slow down by Bob Knight, you crossed the line.
Ooh, man, I went too far. He's like, Dan, just settle down. I'm like, I'm just telling you the way it is here is unbelievable. So yes, I'm just thinking out loud that Robbie Foster was the one guy that spoke. Who spoke before? I'll tell you who did. Those idiots with the bowel movement that we had a few years ago in Indiana. They called it the movement. Was it Jeremy Holloway?
Oh, yeah. Him and Honor Mascara-Perea and Peter Jerkin.
Yogi was in that crew. Who
what's
else?
his name? The kid who wound up at Syracuse.
Oh, yeah.
Smith Rivera.
Patterson.
Oh, Patterson. Right. Ron Patterson.
Patterson, the bowel movement. We're the movement. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That didn't. You know what's miserable is when the bill comes due.
Yes.
The bill, because it will come due for your words, and it's really, really unpleasant.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit social media / I don't think it's political, but have you seen all this stuff with Anheuser-Busch? Anheuser-Busch made as their number one spokesman a guy they're dressing up as a girl named Dylan Mulvaney, who has been on Air Force One. It's a dude.
Yeah.
Dressed up as a girl, and really a caricature of a woman. A very embarrassing, like Lee's like, what is this idiot? And Anheuser-Busch is celebrating 365 days of this person being a girl. Well, she has a penis, doesn't menstruate, dresses up like a girl, has been on Saturday Night Live, has a bunch of influencers. So Anheuser-Busch said she's going to be our spokesman. And the lady who is in charge now with Bud Light, she's going to be a spokesman for Bud Light, this guy dressing up as a girl, said, well, she said, we have to make this lighter and more inclusive. Well, people are protesting because it's not inclusive, it's denigrating women. It's making fun of women. But to your point, I'm taking a long time to get to your point, but the bill comes due one way or the other.
Right.
People are saying we're going to boycott Bud Light, and she's saying we had to change the marketing. The bill's going to come due.
Yeah.
6 months from now, or whatever the time frame you do to judge beer sales or whatever, she's going to be right, or people protesting about it going to be right.
And there's no arguing.
There's no arguing.
Right.
It's a little like sports,
right.
That industry. You either sold a bunch, you didn't sell a bunch, you either won, you lost.
Yeah.
That's it. And it happens it happens in life probably more than people want to admit.
And you should learn it early.
Right.
I learned, okay, I've got a biology test in 7th grade. And Dad says, how are you going to do on this test? I said, I'm gonna ace it. Been studying, I got it. Okay. How'd you do on the test? Aced it. Okay. Then I bring it home.
You were just getting through the
I got to see Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting through the
Dad
conversation.
happy for a minute. You know, hey, what are you going to do? And then you come home with the C-. He's like, what the hell happened? I thought you were going to ace it. That happened to me several times in 7th grade, and I learned, don't oversell who and what you are.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to do very well.
Yeah.
Say that, and you bring home a B, he's happy. If you say you aced it and you bring home a C-, he thinks you're an idiot, and he's right. That's no way to deal with your dad.
Some clown on our show here says, I'm wearing a Harvard shirt because we're going to get a guy named Chris Ledlam from Harvard.
I had that comment.
I asked my stepdaughter, you know this Chris Ledlam guy? I go, yeah. She goes, yeah, I know a basketball team. She plays softball. I go, he any good? He's all right for Harvard. Indiana fans are like, oh, you're wearing that shirt. That means we're getting... I wouldn't know Chris Ledlam if you pulled him out of lineup. I just know that the Harvard softball team has a big weekend coming up this weekend.
Who they got?
Good question. But it's big.
I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't matter who they got. No. Here's why it's big, because they're tied for first with Princeton.
Oh, really?
So every weekend's big. They probably have Brown, or I think they've got Dartmouth last week. Doesn't matter. They're tied for first. Only 2 teams go to the playoffs. Princeton is the one team that they play at the end of the year. That's the big one. But you got to stay with Princeton because Princeton plays the shittiest team, 0-17 somebody. We've already played them. So this is a big weekend. You just got to keep winning.
How about Indiana, until this past weekend, had won 23 in a row. 23, that's like the Giants in whatever.
How about Indiana women's sports?
Yeah.
Now, Eddie White will tell you
good.
the soccer team sucks and they should hire Angela, and of course they should. However, the women's basketball team, that girl, what's her name, Berger?
Yeah.
7 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this about Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be horrible, and shoot me. I thought she was awesome last year.
Yeah.
Like, I want her on my team. This year, I thought she was too heavy.
And the numbers would bear that out.
Yeah.
As a junior, she was really good statistically. This year, not so good.
As soon as last year, I'm like, this woman is freaking, I want her because she's a great teammate, energetic as hell, can move at her size. This year, I watched her, I'm like, whoa, hold on. And I guess you can't say that about women's sports, but why not? If we're all going to treat everybody equal, I would tell you if a guy were too heavy. She looked too heavy to me. So Pacers are she should be the number 1 pick and the Fever, but she going to have to get her ass in shape, I think.
And they took, after Grace at 13, they took the Mike Sell girl. Taylor Mike Sell from Ohio State, who I hate.
Because she's good.
She's really good. Can flat shoot.
You know, I was talking to a guy at NBC, and did you know, I think we talked about this, NBC has Big Ten basketball next year.
Yeah.
And it's streaming the Tuesday night games. And it was a guy, and I'm like, well, you guys are in a great position here. Because Big Ten basketball women's, they're going to have women's. I go, this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And Big Ten men, and this is true for you, this is what I'm told from 3 different head coaches in Big Ten basketball. Big Ten is addressing why they stink in the tournament. Relatively, they stink. Relatively, how many good. And one of the things is, and it's something that we've talked about on this show, is the thick ankle league. Big Ten, you're going to see the Big Ten change its recruiting a little bit and go to more athletic guys. Guys like what Indiana got in the Ware kid, who are longer, athletic. It feels like Indiana is too skinny, or excuse me, too heavy, too thick-legged, the Big Ten is, and not athletic enough to compete.
That's good news for the MAC.
That is
They're
good news.
They're going to have a better talent pool. You know, you're going to have those thick-ankled guys who belong in the MAC in the first place going to the MAC.
Oh, I'm telling you, Race Thompson would be a draft choice if he played it. He was a perfect MAC guy, perfect MAC mentality. But look, at the end of the day, the Big Ten does have to do something about it. And people say it's matchups, and okay, I guess it is, but year after year after year.
In conference play, if everybody but Purdue goes to like great athletes, thoroughbred types who can run and jump and shoot and score, how's Purdue gonna compete? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As the prototype of the thick ankle team. They're not changing, I wouldn't think.
No, and I don't know if it takes a year or two. Well, Edie makes the whole difference.
Yeah, and they've always got that guy. They had Harms. They had.
I cannot. I'm telling you. I've said this. If this guy from Sweden becomes a real guy, I think I'll eat a hat on live TV because I've only seen him once, and I'm like, wait a second. Like I was at practice and Matt's like, hey, watch this kid we got sitting out, and Harm's just running and jump. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is like 6-7 years ago, whatever it was. I watched this guy warm up against Ball State.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus. That's just taking a guy because you're taking a guy.
We got to find a European guy who's really, really tall. It's a rule.
It's just who we are. I don't know. I don't know if how quick it's going to change in the Big Ten, but that's what I've been told. I've been told that the Big Ten guys are out there in the portal. They're looking for guys that can get out on the wing, can do what you just said, run, jump, score a little bit.
And that's what, I mean, Izzo's the one guy who's had any level of success in the NCAA tournament, and that's what he kind of does with Jaren Jackson or now Isaiah Booker going up to East Lansing. And so
they get on the wings. It's the same thing every year. Left wing runs, or the 2-man runs the right wing, 3-man runs the left wing. They run like crazy. The point guard gets in. They just got the kid Walker back. 5-man or 4-man, who's ever first down, runs Main Street right to the rim, figures out where the ball is, goes ball side, trail guy, does one of a number of things, ball screens down, catches in reverse, shoots, whatever. And they run at every opportunity. Makes, they run. Misses, they run. Free throws, they run. The only team in the Big Ten. And I've never understood this. I always said if I ever became a Big Ten coach, I'm going to emulate a lot of what Izzo does, because they try to score off free throws, offensive rebounds, through their sets, through their transition, get in passing lanes, defense. They try to score on every possession, both ends of the court.
And that's the noise that Mike Woodson makes. Like, here's what we're going to try to do. Although it was different with Trace Jackson.
Do you think they'll change styles?
They got it.
They're loading up big guys.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's their strength? Where's Indiana's strength right now, roster-wise? Let's even say Johnson comes back.
Like Renew?
I say the 5-man.
Yeah.
They got 3 of them. I mean, you guys out there are telling us how great this kid is that sat the bench at Oregon is, and then the kid at Ball State's a good player. You know, I mean, that's so, you got to.
It's not guards.
No.
You know,
who are the guards?
Galloway and Johnson and C.J. Gunn. And Bates ran away.
Geronimo ran away.
Yeah.
Leo's still there. First white guy off the bench.
I'd like to see him play.
I feel like he's given up.
Leo?
Because whenever you, as a scholarship player, join the walk-on end of the bench white guys. And running out, when you
become the big cheerleader guy. No, that's not good.
When you join the GPA guys at the end of the bench, you as Mr. Basketball, come on.
Yeah, kids at home, don't do that. Don't become the cheer monkey. Don't do that kind of thing. Don't come. Coming out and throwing towels at guys, it's just embarrassing.
It's like when Eddie Schilling, as a coach, Eddie Schilling, after Romeo scored a bucket, Romeo's coming to the bench and he's actually doing this. We're not worthy. And I'm like, my God, what is, like, come on. What?
Yeah.
Like, no. All right, the dream is dead. The dream of Lamar Jackson.
No Lamar. We get Richardson in 16 days, and we have a big party. We have a big celebration, and we drink 18 Lowenbrows.
Lowenbrows of beer by Anheuser-Busch. I will not be drinking Lowenbrow because I'm boycotting Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, you've sworn off Anheuser-Busch?
Yeah, I've sworn off them and Nike. This might be a Nike. I don't know. I didn't check today. But I've sworn them off because my wife is mad. When Lee's mad about real women,
you got to back the wife.
I'll back her no matter what. And I'm not adverse. You ever protested anything and actually gone through with it?
Not publicly, not as part of some kind of, agenda.
Privately?
Well, I protest everything privately.
But I mean, not use like
swear off the boycotts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I boycott all kinds of things.
What do you boycott? What's your current boycott? Guy says I got a fake boycott. This ain't fake. I'm not doing it. What are you currently not doing?
This is stupid boycott. And this is, here's what I do and here's how stupid I am. Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
I'm not a party to Mercedes-Benz drivers or their cars.
Because?
Their cars, I'll pass if I have the opportunity to pass them. In a roundabout, I'll pull in front of a Mercedes-Benz I just don't like them, and I've got to penalize those who drive them.
Why? What happened?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I
What do you
think
mean
it's
you're
just
not sure?
Yeah, it's just a decision I made. I generally don't wind up liking the people who drive them, I think is the thing. I like, oh, hey, look, that guy's got a Mercedes-Benz. Well, good for you. They drive like they own the road. I just don't like them as a class.
I boycotted a local, I think I told you this, a local marathon station on September 12th, 2001, the day after 9/11. The guy, there was a big...
Oh, he jacked up prices?
Jacked up prices, and he had billed himself as this local, we're here for the local community. Yes, we're a marathon, but we're locally owned. All right, next thing you know, the prices went up. So I went, got my boy, we all boycotted. It hurt me more than them, because it was the only gas station by my house.
Yeah.
And I would forget, and I would pull in. I go, no, I'm on the boycott. So I'd have to go somewhere in the middle of Bowling Green to see, and it hurt me. But then I saw my buddy Stoner. I got to see if this is a Nike shirt. Then I saw my buddy Stoner, who was boycotting with me. He was at the pumps. No. This is Heat gear. Yeah, I don't have Nike gear. No. This is Under Armour. Under Armour. Yeah, shut up, people.
My dad, well, he boycotted everyone at one point or another, but a drugstore, he'd say, you got to go into the drugstore, pick this up for me, in Lake Bluff when I was growing up. Because the owner of the place put a thing on his charge, he'd say, yeah, you just charge it, and they'd write it on an index card then. And Dad's like, no, I want to pay cash for this. And Mr. Wilms said, no, it's on the charge, it's done. Now I want to pay cash.
Oh boy.
And Wilms said, it's already, Dad walked out and he never walked back in, ever. So we had to go in and buy stuff for him because he refused to enter the store. There were dozens of things like that. He was insane.
Yeah, I know. Guys arguing with me about Lowenbrow. Hey, look, no. I just saw it yesterday. My guy Indy Spanglish just put a whole list of beers that are under the Anheuser-Busch brand. I was surprised that Lowenbrow was, but Lowenbrow was my favorite beer. My favorite beer.
Stella, that's
under there, yeah. Mango Cart. I love Mango Cart. I was at the Cubs game the other day. By the way.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that.
By the way, anybody under our age, 60 might be a little old, okay? Might be. Spend your summer in the frickin' bleachers. Lee and I had great seats. We were behind home plate. It's one of those days where it's freezing cold behind home plate and beautiful out in the bleachers. So Lee's cold, and we're just sipping beer. We're not really just watching the game. Nobody was sitting by us. It was perfect, but she's cold. So I go, hey, let's grab a beer and let's go out to the bleachers. Now, we didn't have tickets to the bleachers, so we walked the right side on the concourse around.
Right.
Walked up to start. The coach from Avon Baseball was there. He had a nice chat. We walked up, and the lady's like, you got your wristband? And I had a coat on. And I go, yeah, right here. And kept walking. And Lee kept walking. So we go, and right there, right field bleachers, there were two seats that were empty, obviously. So we went and sat there, and the ushers looked at us, and I just kind of went, he goes, what a party.
Really?
Oh, hot girls got drinking. I called my boys and I go, fellas, why didn't we spend every moment of our summers here? And they go, well, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same back then. I go, well, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable time. Like college kids, a little bit older, 20s, just having a freaking festival of fun. I can see it's miserable if it's hot because you're in the sun.
Yeah, right.
How
was pace of play? Pace of play good?
Ours was a little slower that day because the Rangers were so freaking bad. I'd never seen a second baseman.
I watched that game.
They were so bad.
It was the worst fundamental baseball I've ever seen through like 4 innings. It was terrible. The hop there, Cubs, they were throwing it all over the place. First baseman was a train wreck.
The Cubs first baseman fell down on a ball here.
Yeah.
The right fielder and center fielder looked at each other for the Rangers. I've never seen this. I've never seen a major league second baseman had to move in on a hop and put out, it'd be this glove. He puts out his glove and goes like this. And then he kicks it. And I'm like, what? And then, yes, the Cubs first baseman just steps over here, ball right here, he falls down.
Yeah.
Lee's like, ever seen more on athletic play?
They were, and the Rangers, they tried to make a play at the plate. They threw it like 15 feet up the third base line. It's like somebody hit somebody. I mean, what are you people doing? It was like rec league softball.
We were out in right field, and the right fielder, I think his name was Grossman. So he had already kicked one for a double, got confused with the center fielder and let it drop on a ball that was literally from me to the stairs, which is like 2 feet away. The center fielder had to come over because this clown was like circling under nothing. So then a base hit comes out there and he kicks that, but nothing happens. It was like a 1 out, nobody on single. Yeah. He kicks that. I mean to tell you, if I thought we were wrong about how bad the right fielder was, we weren't, because the entire bleach, that's the 5th in time you booted some, you suck, you can't even catch a ground, you can't throw, you're throwing 3-hopper home. I mean, dudes are just unloading on this guy.
That we've talked about Chris Duncan before, and Dunk, when he played for the Cardinals, when he was brought up, he came to Wrigley, and they had Pujols at first, and that was his position, so they stuck him in left field because they needed his bat. Jim Edmonds was next to him in center, and he'd look over to Edmonds, and Edmonds would be, like this or this. He was positioning him the whole time. People in the bleachers saw it and killed Duncan. And I was like, oh, you could hear it? He's like, Jesus, yeah, I was shaking. Like all the left field bleachers are killing me. And I'm thinking, God damn, could I get back into the dugout quick enough?
Yeah, because there's no fence, bullpen, bleachers.
Right.
It's bleachers.
Right on top of your ass.
And I'm telling you, again, this is the first time I've been out there since they redid them. I guess I haven't been out there forever. I did as a kid. And you're literally sitting like this, and we're in the 10th, 15th, 20th row, whatever, but you feel like you don't even see the people in the rows behind you, in front of you. You're just leaning. And I mean, you feel like you're right on top of this guy. And I can see what Duncan's talking about. You just get crushed. It's awesome.
We were there. Well, this was early 90s, and Dykstra's playing for the Mets. And I think, Mets or Phillies. And some guy, like to my right, is like, hey, Dykstra! And Dykstra was constantly picking his nose and eating the boogers. He's like, you booger-eating moron! And he was just killing him about eating boogers. And finally, Dykstra turned around and shielded his hand with his glove and stared at the guy and flipped him off. It was awesome. It's just great. Dykstra wasn't having it. Piece of shit human being, right?
But the worst,
yeah. But he wasn't having it.
But good for Dykstra, because you know what?
Don't take that crap.
Who you got to please?
Yeah.
Yourself. Now it would be like Lenny Dykstra flipped off fan. Oh my God, you got to suspend him. You got to shoot him. He can't be in the play.
That would have been on Instagram in a minute. But everybody with their cameras.
Yeah. But hey, I'm just telling you, if you get a chance.
Bleachers.
Oh, it got so, like, I told Lee, I got a beer. It just makes you want to have a beer and sit there and just watch. So we literally just got one beer, sat there, watched all the mayhem. I mean, craziness, because they got these bats that they pour beers into now. They're plastic glasses, but they're a bat. And so people are having a sword fight. I mean, one dude's trying to make out with a girl. She ain't having it. She hits him. It's just absolutely awesome.
It's like Mardi Gras and Clark and Addison. My God.
It's unbelievable. I highly recommend it, particularly for you young folks. So you'll find a wife. By the end of the summer, you'll find a wife, or you women out there, you'll find a husband, because, my God. And people, it's just loud. I'm like, Lee, listen how loud this is. It's awesome.
Constant
buzz. Constant buzz.
Nice.
Constant it's awesome.
Have fun in Vegas.
I'm going, baby. I'm playing golf Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's the whole family.
Yeah, my brother. Why is Dan taking his clothes off? Because we, ladies and gentlemen, give the people what they want.
Is that what they want?
No. Hey, thanks for watching. Tell your friends. Subscribe and
subscribe for the love of God, and I'll show more nipples next week.